Hello. Hello. Good morning. Just before Bruce gets ready, there is a pen drive here. Somebody forgot a pen drive? Okay, it's here. We just want to remind you that today, at 6 o'clock, we're going to walk to the main auditorium to have a concert, and then after that, the public lecture on science that Bill Phillips is going to give. And we put in the TV outside 4 short movies about the international system of units, science behind the fundamental constants, and time and frequency. This is a kind of diffusion movie that C2 Commission prepare, and I want to give you 1 copy to each chair, and try to encourage you to make a short move of your field in your commission to diffuse in the homepage of IUPAP. So if you want a movie, I will give 1 to each. It's a collection of 4 movies about the new international system of units as well. And of course, the president of APS will be the first one to get. And
are they available online, Vanderlei?
not yet.
The win?
Yeah, it will be after this meeting. They will be available. Oh, the program of the concert. Let's ask Alika. She is the tired musician.
Yes, yes. You should try that.
So you are the chair of a conference of the commission. We can give cost to everyone.
Here we go.
You chair?
You are chair.
Still are. Look, if you, I don't have an English copy, but we'll be very happy to send a copy to me. So please diffuse, because we want everybody to know about the new international system. So you can post anywhere you want. Anywhere you want to post. Anybody else that did not get one, I can. Okay, so we're gonna. I have the people there can try to do more. Maybe I have a few. Yeah, we have 5 more. As you know, C2 supports the new change in the international system of units, so we try to explain in colloquial language why is that important.
Okay. I sent 2 suggestions to you, but if it's 10 and 20, use 2 suggestions. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I hope that everybody enjoyed last night's dinner, but not too well, so they're wide awake for today. The clock in front of me says 1 minute to 9. I think we can start on time and set a good example for starting on time for the rest of the other occasions when we leave the room and have to come back. It's a busy day, and I'll be trying to keep on time. It's a slightly more busy day than before because I've had to readjust the program, and that's my first slide. What I did to the program was basically put a linkers report on as the second item after lunch, and I've shortened. I kept the same time frame for the ones before lunch and shortened the time frame for the ones after lunch, just a little to squeeze that extra time in. So that's the change in the program for today. You've got the Gender Champion report that we didn't pick up yesterday afternoon for lack of time. That's been put into the middle of this afternoon's business. I think we'll still be in good shape to finish at 4 o'clock, 1600. So let me do a quick review of some things I think I should mention about what we did yesterday. And one of the early items of business yesterday was to discuss the slates. And the only slate to change from those presented to you yesterday is the one for the Commission on Low Temperature Physics, C5, which is in front of us now. It's in the new has changed. So what we were asked to do by your motion was to remove the Italian member from the first 14 and put the Spanish member into the first 14. And I've readjusted the appearance of this so I don't have to scroll through the spreadsheet. You can see it's done it to two patterns, and you can see this side is the 14 members that are being put forward, and this side are the other nominees that are not being put forward. I want to take the opportunity to tell you that when we show these slates to the General Assembly, we do not show this bit. We do not show the General Assembly the people that didn't get up. We show only this list of people that are on the slate as people being presented to go forward. And I'll take this opportunity to remind you what happens in the General Assembly about people going on commissions. The first day of the General Assembly, when this item comes up, we show them all of the slates. And they also get a login code which will give them access to be able to look at the slates if they need to be reminded about them, and to look at all of the nomination papers. So if they need to be reminded about what person they have nominated for a commission and what happened, and they pull the paper out and they can look at it. Day 2, on Thursday, when we discuss the new commissions and the new executive council, people that are not on the slates can be renominated. So the liaison that nominated them in the first place can say, we want these to be put back on the list, and they will go back on the list if they are supported by another country. And then on Friday, if there are any lists that have more than 14 people on them, there will be an election to determine which of those more than 14 become the 14 members of the Commission. So it's a 3-day process, and that's the way it works. Bill.
As you explained to us yesterday, it's impossible, even in principle, for there to be as many members of commissions as there are shares, because there simply are something like 10 more shares than there are members of commissions.
Shares, yeah.
Now, one way of solving that would be to increase the number of people on a commission from 14 to 15. What would be required to do that?
This council considered the possibility of asking the General Assembly to agree to increase the number of people on commissions. That, in fact, was done back in 1911. It went from 13 to 14 on a commission. And the council decided that it would not take that step. And I suspect that if you listen to the reports of Working Group 14 and the Interim Working Group 15 yesterday, that you may find in 3 years' time or 6 years' time that you have 1 or 2 more commissions.
Right, and that would solve it as well.
That would solve that problem. Create some other interesting problems that I won't go into in depth, but the maximum number of shares anyone can have is 18, so no one can get on all of the commissions if we put the commissions up, without putting that number up. Okay, so this is what's going forward tomorrow, this left-hand half of this. And what did I put up next? Yes, to remind you that we agreed on the new budget, adopted the budget for 2018, and there's a draft budget for 2019 and 2020 which have to be adopted the year before those years. Now, we had a discussion about neutrino physics, and Juan told us that the group of people that met to discuss what to do actually came to a conclusion. And this is their conclusion. He wanted it presented to the General Assembly. The proposal that's now been received is that it's important to get C4, C11, C12 together with working groups 1 and 10. I suspect you probably need to consider whether you want to put 9 in there as well. The defining mission so far is that the neutrino panel is to promote international cooperation in the development of an experimental program to study the properties of neutrinos and to promote international collaboration in the development of future neutrino experiments to establish the properties of neutrinos. And the exact definition will still need further iteration through this agreed text expresses the spirit of the panel. As a first target, the panel composition will be composed of around 15 members, and nominations will be made by the involved commissions and working groups. The mandate will extend for 3 years when the panel should deliver its final report, so this is going to be one of those working group types of things that won't live indefinitely, and the status will be reviewed every year during meetings of commissions and working groups, and in fact I think should be reported to the Council on an annual basis. And they want to produce a memorandum of understanding signed by commissions and working groups to recognise the activity. Sorry I didn't line that up properly at the bottom. It seems to me that the appropriate type of... Well, the first problem is having a panel is something that's not within the structures that the General Assembly recognises, but we could call it that and say that And because it's not in the structures that they recognise, I think a simple resolution which basically says that this panel is being constructed with a aim to with a mission to promote international cooperation, etc., and that the precise mandate of the panel, precise mission of the panel, if you prefer, and the composition will be determined by the relevant commissions and working groups and approved by the Council. So I think that that's the type of resolution we need to put to the General Assembly with to implement this. But this is their report. I don't think I know. I don't know what I did. I may have put something in the draft resolutions. I need to look back at them when we come to them. And if there's nothing there, we'll put something in that takes care of it. And the other thing we did was to approve the procedures, agree to the and approve the procedures of IUPAC and IUPAP working together for validating claims on the discovery of new elements and naming those elements. Conferences, I don't. Will I leave this up? Have a look over there. Or I'll get Rajani to talk about it. But I'll get Rajani to talk about it. But this is what's happened, and then he can put his machine on and show us some more stuff.
Okay. On the conferences yesterday, what we when we were discussing the conferences, if you remember, when we came to commission number 9, there was that A conference which we have not captured on our database, and apparently it was a result of some glitch. The people who were doing the submission online did something, and I don't know if it is correct to say they did something wrong, but they did not complete the submission process, and so we did not capture it. And they were alerted last night by the chair, and then they went back online, and the submission came last night. We had a discussion, and we thought we will be prepared to accommodate it, because it is a premier conference of C9. But it changes the numbers. The numbers of A's were 9 yesterday when we discussed. And based on those numbers, we had allocated a total of 10,500 euros per A conference. If we are to accommodate this 10th A conference, and still balance the budget, we must reduce the allocation per A conference from 10,500 to 9,500 euros. So that is the situation.
So is there any discussion on this? This is what I put up before I had a discussion with Rajani about what might happen. I thought of 2 possible alternatives to bring the matter down to within the budget. One was to put the cut entirely in the A conferences, so they go down to 9,500, and the other one, and the B conferences stay at 5,000. The other one was to put a $500 cut on everybody, so that the A conferences only go down to 10,000, but the B conferences then go down to 4,500. And Rajani is suggesting that we go with the alternative on the left there.
Yes, the option that I'm putting is to keep the B's as at 5,000 as yesterday, and to lower the A's to 9,500.
Is there any discussion of that? Well, there are two matters here. One is the matter of accepting this late application, if you like, mistakenly late application, and the other one is to, if you agree to that, then we have to change the amount we allocate per conference to fit within the budget. And the proposal is to reduce the amount given to A-type conferences by 1,000 euros, so it becomes 9,500 euros per conference, total of 95,000. B-type conferences stay at 5,000. I left a zero off that. Let me fix it up so I get it right when I look at it again. And the total then is on the budget item of 195,000. Yep.
Thank you very much. I really would like you to...
Sorry, hold the microphone to your mouth.
Hello? Yes. I really would like to share this, let's say, this, I would not call it a mistake, but this overlook over the two type of conference by reducing by 500 the amount of support to each category. So I would favor your proposal of the or 10,000 and 4,500.
Any other comments or discussion? I know Rajani tried to ring me at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I was asleep to discuss this. But so I made this up as what I thought were likely possibilities that he would talk about. These are not proposals from me. So is it agreed that we go with these numbers? The ones on the left? So I'll take these out. Oh good, if I keep it down. Get rid of that. Okay. The agreement is 9,500 for type A conferences and 5,000 for B type conferences.
That's the agreement, 9,500. Okay, so then it balances.
That balances the budget. Okay. So that's all agreed.
Do I need to project them again?
Do you want the final list of conferences projected, or can you remember enough? Probably a good idea to project. I think so, if you've got it saved to your USB, put it over here. Which one is it? In there.
Let me take a look. Let me sit.
Come on. 10 minutes below this.
Right. So, under something is not loading. Under C2, we have two conferences. There is one that has been blocked. I don't know why. There's the CPEM. The CPEM and the International Conference on Precision Physics of Simple Atomic Systems is still there on top, Bill. It's just blocking it up. And under C4, and I'm listing only the A's and the B's and the D's, those that have financial implication. Under C4, we have 3 B's. Under C5, we have 1 B. Under C8, we have the 34th International Conference on Physics of Semiconductors, ICPS, and the B, International Conference on Superlattices and Nanostructures. We have just agreed to include under C9 their A conference, ICM, and retain the 2 other Bs that we had yesterday. Yesterday we would have had only 2 Bs under that commission. And under C10, we have got 1 A and 2 Bs. C11 remains as yesterday, 1 A and 2 B conferences. C12, 3 Bs. And then C13 has got 4 D conferences. Commission number 14 would have had that endorsed conference that we have, the commission has just felt that it should not be endorsed after they've done consultation with their commission members. C15, 1A conference, ICAP, and 1B conference. C16, 1A. The C17 should have been moved to I shouldn't have included that C. That's by mistake. I should have taken it out because it has no financial implication, but it is a normal C that has been approved under C17. And then the C18, 1A, C20, 1A, and AC1, a B conference, and then AC2, an A conference, the Marcel Grossman meeting, and finally AC4, the big World Congress on Medical Physics. Those are the conferences we will endorse. We have agreed that the COSPA will be endorsed under Commission 4. Commission 8 has asked for the endorsement of their 35th ICPS, and C12 is endorsing Quack Matter. You will see that the conferences under the endorsement category will even include the big conferences. That is how flexible the endorsement mechanism is. And the quantum cascade lasers is there under C17. So with those agreements, we end up with 10 A conferences, 20 B conferences, 12 Cs, and 4 Ds. And our budget will only balance if we lower the amount given to A's from 10,500 down to 9,500 and keep the B's at 5,000.
Excuse me. I remember yesterday there were two B conferences for C8, no? I mentioned 2 satellites.
There weren't 2 B conferences. There was 1 A conference and 1 B conference.
Not 2? I thought 1 A and 2 Bs. I'll talk to you later.
Do you know the names of those conferences? So the ones we have is your premier conference, the ICPS.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I mentioned there would be 2 satellites when I look, but I can talk. I mentioned I would have 2 satellites conference, but I only see 1 here. I see.
That's the situation as we displayed it yesterday and as we still have it today.
Yeah,
under
I'll look at.
C8.
Let's see. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
I have a question not specifically to the agreement of this conference. I have a question about the conference fee, the maximum allowances. Do we discuss this also, or?
The maximum fees. It is set at 680 for 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fees that arise by the same inflation measures that we applied to dues, 3.1% per year. They've been rounded to nearest $10, and
I can project that slide.
I'll put them up for you when I get back to my machine.
Yeah, the question why I asked that is, there was the question asked by people about the duration of the conference. So some conferences take place, for example, our Type A conference, for 10 days, 10 conference days. Some other conferences take place only 3 or 4 days, but the maximum fee is independent from that, which is allowed by IUPA. Whether IUPA would consider taking the length of the conferences into account.
C1 discussed your suggestion that we should take the length of the conference into account and decided that not to pursue that, but to note that the maximum fee, that refreshments and meals are not included in the maximum fee. So if your fee covers those things, which is one of the big items if you've got a longer conference, then you could do a calculation to exclude it and come under the maximum fee if you could.
Okay.
I think that slide is on. I've projected it. This is what you're talking to. This is what is it here.
Okay. So we have it up.
Ah, yeah,
We
okay.
have the numbers up there now.
Okay.
You'll notice that the maximum fees are set out to 2021, even though our next triennium goes up to 2020, and that's because the meeting in the council meeting at this time in 2020 is going to have to decide the conferences on 2021, and it needs to have that information. Any other conference matters? If not, with those changes agreed, we'll move forward. Okay, so that's done. And the next item of business is the merger of ICSU and ISSC. And to refresh your memory on the background of that, you'll remember that our meeting, that Cecilia Yalskog the past president, was not at our council meeting last year. She went to a meeting of ICSU, Special General Assembly of ICSU, General Assembly of ISSC in Oslo at the same time, and where the members of those two associations decided to pursue a merger. And they've been working very hard on determining what possible terms there are for a merger and how it would work. And what they can do is also restricted by what's possible under French law. So there will be a General Assembly of ICSU and a Special General Assembly of ISSC in approximately 2 weeks' time in Taipei, and the members of the International Council of Science and the members of the International Social Sciences Council will be asked to vote on the question of whether there should be a merger of the two councils. And then various things will happen if the vote is yes, that the next step will be to charge the presidents of the two councils to formalise a merger treaty and start the legal process, which will be by a merger and absorption mechanism. So the proposal that's being put forward for the legal process means that all current members of those two councils will become members of the merged body. And there'll have to be an agreement about the date on which the merger will take effect. And members then will be asked to vote on the date and place of the next General Assembly, founding General Assembly of the merged body, which will be held in 2018, and need to work in accordance with new statutes and rules of procedure, which have to be agreed now so that they're agreed to be able to work forward. Now, my proposal to you is that the IUPAP Executive Council recommends to the General Assembly of IUPAP that we cast our vote in favour of the proposed merger. I think there are very good theoretical reasons why the merger should occur. I do think that if one is trying to do science in a way that it makes a difference for the community, which we say we're doing in our mission statement, then it's important to understand how the community works and to be able to bring social scientists to bear on that. So there are, as I said, good theoretical reasons why it should go ahead. Personally, I have two concerns about the merger. One, and I think that Cecilia expressed both of these concerns much more forcefully than I would in the meeting in Oslo, namely that my first concern is simply a financial one. ICSU's budget is pretty tight as it is. ISSC's budget is even tighter, and whether there are the resources available to do what is required, and if there aren't, what the plans are to get more resources are questions which are still in my mind open even in the present set of documents. And the other thing that I think we as a union, let me remind you that ICSU has different types of members, but the financial members, the ones that get the vote, are national members, like academies of science and so on in various countries, and of which there are around 100 and something, and international scientific unions, of which there are about 30. The voting structure in ICSU is such that the union's votes count for as much extra, so the total number of votes cast by unions is the same as the total number of votes cast by national members. But decisions are made by the total number of votes. They're not made as some in some other organisations where you have two classes of members. You have to have a majority of each class, but that's not the case. You just have to have a majority of the total number of votes. And I think that there will be concerns about how the new structure will work to preserve a significant role for the unions. I think that has to be worked out because it's the unions that bring the science to ICSU, and the national members bring the money, the first approximation. So I think that has to be worked out, and with goodwill on everybody's part, I think it will be able to be worked out. So my recommendation to you is that we do recommend to the General Assembly that we vote in favour of the merger. I suspect that this is another occasion where if the past President were present here, she would be suggesting that perhaps we should vote the other way. But to give us we have present at our meeting Barbara Erasmus, who is the Treasurer of ICSU. So she should be well placed to tell us about the budget questions. And she will, and of course she's on the Executive Board of ICSU in that capacity, which has been working very hard on all these merger questions for the last 12 months at least. So she's going to give us a briefing about what's going on there, and then we'll take questions for her and for me, if you wish, about further matters that come up there. So, Barbara, good. Sorry.
Thank you for your kind
Microphone.
I stay here. So thank you for your kind invitation. I am representing ICSU indeed, but I am physicist as well. So I am personally involved in the study of.
Barbara, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
These microphones, you have to speak close to the microphone. If you would prefer, you could have a handheld.
No, it's okay. It's better now? Okay, sorry about it. So I am involved in the study of high-energy heavy ion collisions at CERN, and I am chairing currently the EPS High-Energy Physics Board. And I'm happy to be here with you to present the status of this merger project between ICSU and ISSA, to discuss the role of unions, and in particular the role of IUPAP in this new organization, and also to present you the information about our budget, ICSU budget, and the budget of this new organization, and discuss any work you can make on that topics. So, discussing with you yesterday, I realized that some of you are already very familiar with ICSU, and even with this challenging merger project, and some of you are less, so we would certainly ask for more information concerning ICSU and ISSA. So I can just remind you that ICSU is a global organization with a member which are unions. We have 31 unions, including IUPAP, and we have 122 national members, which are mainly academies or royal societies, it depends on the country, and we have also around 22 associated members. But full members are unions and national members. I don't really agree that one is doing science and the other politics, but we can discuss the role of unions and the role of national members. So let me briefly present this project, which is not a new one. So International Council for Science is ICSU, and the International Science Council, ISSA, are considering now to merge. So in 2015, a joint working group was created and developed different scenarios on future relations between ICSU and ISSA and recommended a merger. In April 2016, we have a first meeting of executive bodies of two organizations, and we agreed to merge. In October 2016, so Bruce has already mentioned, we had the first joint General Assembly in Oslo, ICSU and ISSA, and members of both voted to in principle agreement on pursuing a merger. What does it mean in principle? In principle means you have your executive bodies, you have our green line to develop the project and to present it in 1 year. In December 2016, Transition Task Force and Strategy Working Group were appointed to develop more particularly new status, policy, and the project for the strategy of the merged organization. And now, in 2 weeks, in October 2017, Joint General Assembly, the second one, will vote on it will be the final vote on a merger and taken by both ISSA and ICSU members separately. So the difference, 1 year ago, it was in principle vote, green line, and in 2 weeks, we will vote to a merger. And then we will move on, if the decision is positive. So the story is a 10-year story. Somebody asked me yesterday who proposed the idea. So you can see here a brief summary of different ideas from 2005 already. So it was a resolution of ICSU-GA October 2005 in favor. The next 2008, also in favor. ISSA was in favor the same year. And finally, external review of ICSU has strongly recommended in 2014 to consider the merger of the two organizations. And then exchange of letters followed and agreement to establish this common working group to work more in detail. So this working group was established. Co-chairs was Kodzo Mokele, who knows both, if I have probably you know him. I have no pointer to show, but okay, this is the person on the left. He was previous ICSU vice president, so he knows ICSU, and member of ISSC Committee for Developing and Transition Economies. And Pierre Ricci, he was previous Secretary General of the International Union of Psychological Science and member of ICSU Committee for Scientific Planning and Review. And we had in this working group ISSA members, so president of ISSA, vice president, and one executive member. And from the ICSU side, President Gordon McBean, Vice President Jihan Lee, and Secretary General David Black, and 2 persons from support, from administration. So Executive Director of ICSU, Heide Hackman, and Executive Director of ISSA, Mathieu Denis. Then the strategic working group was created and co-chaired by ICSU and ISCC Vice President, Jin-Kai Lee and Sats Cooper. And this group is including 9 representatives of both, again, ICSU and ISCC members. So you have here names of the person and the country they are representing. Another group was Transition Task Force group, co-chaired by the 2 presidents, Gordon and Alberto Martinelli, and facilitated by Kotso Mokele, who chaired this first working group, and including 9 representatives of ICSU and ISCC. And again, you have a full list of persons involved and the countries they are representing, so France, Japan, USA, Italy, New Zealand, India, USA, China, Taipei, and Turkey. And the workshop has been organized in January this year. It was a consultative workshop held in Paris. So this strategy group invited for a panel discussion some external experts like Helga Nowotny, Craig Callon, Robert Gickraft, Philip Campbell, Editor-in-Chief of Nature, Flavia Schleger, UNESCO. Okay, great. And Nadal Al-Nashif, Assistant Director General for Social and Human Science. Sorry. Well, it's okay. So it will be easy with later. Yeah. Thank you. No. So let's move like this. So the draft strategy is now under consultation. So you will be receiving, I think that you have already received a draft before the General Assembly in, yeah, it's working, in Taipei. So again, this is just a draft to make the discussion easier. You can, of course, read, access all these documents, and you can make comments. And your representatives, so Bruce Kennedy and I think Michel Spiro, will be in Taipei, and of course will participate in the discussion. So nothing has been decided yet. Those group has received, are in charge to develop a project for the strategy and the projects for the future status. So the main role of this future organization will be providing leadership in convening, catalyzing, incubating, and coordinating international action. This is a rather general statement, you agree, but I think that here we can have an important input, we physicists, if we decide to do it. Most of the projects up to now of ICSU are related rather to the climate changes, urban health, risk, disasters, and it is extremely important for the society. And by the way, it is one of the reasons we think that it would be good to merge with Social Science Council. But we can certainly launch new projects which would be more related to our domain. One of the examples I can give you, and we are working for, it is not approved yet to be discussed, is a nuclear cleanup. It's a project related to nuclear physics, but not only. Because when you deal with a problem of nuclear cleanup, you deal with almost everything. You have a problem of geography, biology, chemistry, physics, but also migration and all societal problems you can imagine. So I think this is an excellent example of how we can influence this strategy. Not this strategy document only, but it is just an input. So please take it as an input, and please be proactive in this new structure. I think that this is, for me, it is the principal reason, and it is really excellent opportunity for all the scientific unions. And we can imagine all our projects. You are already very active, since you were successful last year in getting the grant, and it was the idea from ICSU to make work together at least 2 unions, so you have one of 3 grants with crystallography. But you can, of course, we can go further in this way. We can launch new programs. And the role of ICSU and the new organization will be to accompany, to assist, to help find funding, and then live your life, like it was the case for Future Earth, for instance. I think probably most of you know this emblematic program of ICSU, Future Earth. It was the case. And we have other programs like this. I will show you the list. So really, this is really the main point. Be proactive. Don't stop with these draft strategy documents, which remains and will remain general, unless we decide to put something useful for us and useful for the new organization. So this, of course, we can discuss it more. Then transition task force is coming with the projects for new status. So, of course, the composition will be a little bit more complicated if we decide to merge, because we have different types of members in ICSU, and ISSC is slightly different. One example, in ISSC you can have 2 representatives by country. We don't have such kind of members in ICSU, so a common status are being developed, and again you will discuss. Nothing has been decided. You will discuss. This is, of course, it's not a minor difficulty, but we can certainly overcome. So it will be also due structure, and then there will be some proposal. I will show you what it would imply for you. The organization of the secretariat and the finance for coming year, and time frame for the merger after this October General Assembly. Again, all those documents are already available. If you are interested, you can access, you can read, and you can send your remarks to your representatives. So, next step, General Assembly in Taipei, and now final vote to approve strategy and transitions plan. And first half of 2018, members will be asked to endorse the merger treaty by electronic vote. So this new treaty for the new organization will be discussed in Taipei, and then executive of both ISSC and ICSU will work on it, taking into account all your concerns, comments. It will be resent to the members, and there will be electronic vote. And also, if the decision is positive, we will prepare a new governing board, which will be elected in the next founding General Assembly in 2018, and will be composed of members from both ICSU and ISSC. And we have decided, it is a proposition to you, when we will elect 1 president and 2 vice presidents, 1 from each organization as a starting point. And then we should decide if there will be a limit proportion of members from ISSC and ICSU in this governing board. But all those things will be discussed and then approved by electronic vote. So this, if any, founding General Assembly will take place no later than in October 2018, and we have 2 candidates. One is Paris, and the second one is Japan. So also in Taipei you will make the decision, you will vote for Paris and for Japan to host this new first new founding General Assembly. So now maybe I can give you some hosting and budget information, since this is your worry. So first of all, very good news. As you probably know, that headquarters are in Paris, and we have up to now free use of the buildings in Paris.